Takutwa Chinguza, the Black Tinder Swindler, scammed me and several other black girls out of tens of thousands of pounds. And this is that story, part one.
Zimmerman Association, where y'all at? Come on and back your boy.
Hey.
Be to the solar. How are you doing, my sweetheart? How are you doing? Oh my God. I hope your family as well. Please be sending my love. Bisola, I wish I could be contacting you under better circumstances, but unfortunately, my enemies are close. Yes, my enemies are extremely close. They are closing in and I need a very, very small favor. If you can just be sending me small 100,000 pounds, this will really save my life. My enemies are very, very close. They are local and I need your help. Bisola, I wish I was not contacting you under these circumstances, but my life is catastrophically crumbling right now and I really need you.
Takutwa Chinguza, the Black Tinder Swindler, scammed me and several other black girls out of tens of thousands of pounds. And this is that story, part one. Takutwa initially made contact with me via Instagram. So he jumped in my Instagram DMs, not on a romantic vibe. He was just like many other people that I don't really know, replying to some of my stories. Initially, I was just giving very polite responses, the kinds of responses you would give to someone you don't know. That is until Takutwa said he initially followed me because I went to the University of Cambridge. And he said that he did too. He said he'd studied medicine at the University of Cambridge, and that's how he initially followed me and established contact with me. And at this point, I thought, whoa, this is a fellow black person at the University of Cambridge. So this is when I started responding to his messages with a bit more, I suppose, enthusiasm and openness and warmness. So the frequency of messages started to increase quite rapidly and I got to know him quite a lot. He got to know me quite a lot. And the real shift from Instagram DM pen pals to real life number, email, in person came from the fact that at this time I decided that I wanted to make a shift from a career in fintech to a career in medicine. And so I was applying for graduate entry medicine, including at the University of Cambridge. Takutwa, being a medical graduate from the University of Cambridge and an established doctor, as he posed himself to be, was kind of playing a really supportive role in this career transition. That's just to give you a basis on how I got to know Takutwa and how we built a friendship in the first place. I haven't mentioned anything about how he presented himself, and I'm gonna lay down the facts in part two. Myself and several other black girls got scammed out of tens of thousands of pounds by the Black Tinder Swindler Takutwa Chinguza part 2. So looking back and establishing this friendship with me, I realized Takutwa essentially had three main goals. One, he portrayed himself as someone who was very, very rich, wealthy and successful. Two, understand and know my character so that he could mold his character to be a really compatible friend. Three, he simply wanted to suss out whether I had any spare money that he could scam out of me. But just to bullet point a few facts about what Takutwa told me he was. So he told me he was a New York born, privately educated, spoiled rich kid essentially that got bullied for being and sounding posh. Tried to claim that he had a very British posh accent because he went to a British private boarding school. He had an African accent anyway. So he said that he currently works for a hospital, ANDRIEUX hospital, which every Cambridge student knows this hospital because it's the main affiliate hospital of the Cambridge University Medical School. That his mother was still living in the US, kind of a high-flying surgeon. Among the things that he would tell me, it would be very evident from his Instagram stories that he was a frequent flyer, always flew business class, always at these exclusive events, things like attending the F1. And in terms of getting to know me, he invested a lot of time, months and months and months and months, picking up things that I would like in another person in order to build a really strong friendship. In addition to all the bullshit he told me, he also told me that he adopted 6 children in South Africa, that these children were HIV positive and orphans. He told me that he was buying a Tesla Model X. This was after discovering that Tesla Model X is essentially my dream car. And then he would really home in on this shared love of traveling. I traveled a lot during this time. I was out here. I was outside. And then in terms of kind of sussing me out and really figuring out what I might have to offer him, he would ask very straight to the point questions. Quite early on now, I think about it, what I do for work, how I get to travel so much, what car I was buying and what car I had, and did my parents buy me this car, did I use my own money, what car my sister was getting for her 18th birthday, and just really trying to find out like what's your financial status essentially. So right now I've basically told you this is what he said about himself, this is why we built a friendship, but I haven't really spoken about what he did to build the trust before launching the scam, but that will come in part 3. And this is that story part 3. I was applying for medicine and he had done medicine at the University of Cambridge and was an established doctor, yada, yada, yada. A lot of the trust and I suppose like building of this friendship came through that very thing. We would meet up for coffees, for lunches, for dinners, and we would speak about my application. And he really solidified this friendship by trying to offer as much help as possible in some key ways. So he offered to send his personal statement. I will get back to this. The big one, the really big one, which was actually an integral part to my application, was offering me an internship with him at ANDRIEUX hospital. This stage, he's kind of got me in a position where I am reliant on him. When I think back, this was such a flawed process. Let's get back to that personal statement. The personal statement he sent me was absolute garbage. It was laughable. I still have it in my emails. In fact, I have it on my laptop screen right in front of me right now. At the time, I just thought he applied as an 18-year-old kid. Perhaps this personal statement just looks like crap because he was an 18-year-old kid. Every time we did discuss medicine and the application and all of these stuff, he was very, very, very vague. At the time, this was simply not something I could pick up on because I had not done medicine. I was not a doctor. I am a qualified doctor now. And my good God, this internship was a big one. This is a whole story in of itself. Basically got to the point where it was the day where I was starting my internship with him. He promised to pick me up from North London to Cambridge. And when it came time, he was ghost. And I was ringing. I got a call on a private number and they left a voicemail. It was a female voice. You know what? This video is getting too long. I'm going to leave it here and do it in the next part. And this is that story part 4. So I got a call. The line sounded very clear. It didn't sound like this person was in a casual place or was outside or anything like that. The woman explained that she was calling from a secretary office at ANDRIEUX hospital and was calling to inform me that Dr. Takutswa Chinguza is in an emergency operation and is unable to answer his phone. Everyone watching this is probably so much smarter than I was at the time. Didn't have a good stomach feeling about this, but I also just couldn't fathom that this could all be a big plot that was part of something else, which, my good God, wait for a few parts and we'll get to it. But I just didn't pick up on the fact that this was BS, essentially, like, long story short. And I just thought, oh, like, I'm a bit bummed. But he was very, very, very apologetic, very professional about it and everything. And I was cool. I understood. I had to understand. He was saving someone's life. Rescheduling with him became quite difficult. Doing this internship was so important and integral to my application that I couldn't rely on an unreliable source to make or break my application. But just said to him, do you know what, you're busy, don't worry about it, I'll figure out another way. I gave my sister a call. She essentially called one of her friends who's a director at another hospital who gave me an internship for medicine. So that was all good. Everything between Takutswa and I was all blessed because I got to do an internship anyway, so no harsh feelings. I suppose we moved on from this. So at this stage, friendship is in good standing. So now Mr. Takutswa Chinguza feels comfortable enough to launch his scam. I'm finally going to talk about how he got money out of me and other people that accumulated to tens of thousands of pounds. Part 5. In this part, I'm going to explain how he finally launched his scams. There are 3 main ways that Takutswa Chinguza received money. Number 1, he makes it seem like he's making a beneficial trade with you. Number 2, apparent generosity on his part. Or number 3, a simple cry for help. In all of him getting to know me, he was really careful to suss out the things that I would purchase or need in the immediate future. He knew that I was looking for my next holiday. You know, I had the travel bug. I was always trying to move around. I settled on wanting to go to the Maldives. Takutswa, who came in saying, I have a lot of air miles with Emirates. Why don't you purchase a ticket from me so that you can fly to Maldives and back for £640. So I said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Before I knew it, Takutsuchinguza had already sent me a confirmation email of the booking with Emirates. At this point, I felt like, oh my God, I'm indebted to him. He's now £640 down because I said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, very frivolously. I better send him that money like ASAP. So I had the confirmation in my email. After all, I had a confirmation from Emirates saying that I had a ticket booked. I saw him travel on his stories almost every single week. And so it didn't seem crazy that he had an excess of air miles. He offered my mum the same to go to her dead mother's funeral in Ghana. Thank God my mum said, first of all, why am I buying a ticket of a little child? And second of all, I'm flying direct to Ghana with BA. What do you mean stop over in Dubai? But we will come to how sick and twisted this offering was when we talk about how I uncovered the scam. So I was buying a MacBook laptop in the very near future. And so he mentioned that him kind of being affiliated with the University of Cambridge meant that he gets discounts with Apple. I mean, you can argue whether or not something like this makes sense to you. I remember when he said this, and I was thinking back to a supervision I had when I was studying natural sciences at the University of Cambridge. And I remember my supervisor getting a new MacBook and opening it during our supervision, explaining to us that he'd gotten this essentially from the university because he's the supervisor at the university. So then it didn't seem crazy to me that Takutwa, who's mentioned several times that he has an affiliation with the university through teaching medical students, receives discounts on MacBooks. So I sent him £400 for the MacBook, easy peasy, didn't have any question in my mind whether this would be true or false. And mind you, all of this was in very, very quick succession. So he's on a trip to Singapore, so when he lands, he'll be able to, you know, give me the MacBook. On his way back from Singapore, he gets stuck in an airport with credit card and debit card issues, and he essentially does his first cry for help. On my credit card, on my debit card, I need £200 to get myself out of this airport. Like, it's a crisis, it's a crisis. He expressed that he was really, really embarrassed to ask for this money. And it had nothing to do with financial issues, but all the things to do with like his credit card or debit card not working in that particular airport or something. And so what is £200 for someone who can then come through the airport, get back to the UK and transfer it to me as soon as they get back to the UK? And now he makes it over the border into the UK. And at this point is now when time starts ticking. I'm now like, where is my MacBook? And when are you transferring me this £200? I'm still not thinking about the tickets because that's in a distant future. These questions is essentially what got me to start to uncover Takutwa Chinguza as the scammer. But before I talk about that, so in the next part, I'm going to talk about tactic number 2, apparent plain blind generosity that he used to get £10,800 from someone I'm going to call Michelle, but tune into the next part for that. So in a previous part, I discussed how one of his scam tactics is apparent generosity. And this is a scam he used on someone I'm going to call Michelle. Takutwa, with me, was using this as a way to kind of build trust. With Michelle, was essentially getting £10,800. Takutwa would always start to confide in me about the fact that he felt like he was being used by friends that he had, being essentially used for his money. That people would take, and never really give to him. And I would always, you know, kind of comfort him and say, you know, you have to use your discernment, whether people are really using you or whether it's a real friendship, yada, yada, yada. He sent me a screenshot of that conversation where Michelle was basically asking whether Takutwa would be willing to pay £10,800 to pay off her uni fees that she would then pay back to him in installments. And he formed an agreement with her to say overall he's going to put some interest on it because he's going to lose out on interest, so that she in total would be paying him £12,500 in installments, and he would pay off the uni fees for her like in that moment so that she was then able to graduate. This is after like months of talking about how he's being used by people, asking me for my opinion on this. And you know, he gave me a few bullet point facts about this friendship that he had. He said that she'd taken quite a lot from him, that she wanted to graduate and wouldn't be able to graduate if he didn't pay this for her, but that she was also leaving and moving to Africa the day after, and so there was no real way to physically stay in touch with her, but he would just have to blindly trust that she would transfer him the money back. And my advice was, it sounds like a no-brainer, it sounds too risky, like you'd lose that money. And you know, he spoke about, oh, you know what, you're so intelligent, you're so clever, you've got such good discernment, I'm going to ask for PayPal for a refund of my money of £10,800. So we had now had a conversation where he was telling me that his mum was even furious about the fact that he paid this £10,800. And he sent me a screenshot of the fact that he asked PayPal for a refund. Remember this for a later part of the story. But mind you, what he did not send was a screenshot between him and Michelle having a conversation about the fact that he asked for this refund. So at this point in time, Michelle's under the impression that university fees are paid and she's going to continue paying Takutsuchin in installments until she's paid him £12,800 as quickly as possible. And she doesn't know that he's asked for a refund, basically, but we'll talk about this. So why did Takutsu involve me in this kind of side plot of his scam? I think for two reasons. One, to even build further trust with me, and for two, also I think to show that he basically had £10,800 spare to frivolously spend and then change his mind on, to kind of solidify this image of like having excess money and not needing money from other people is the key point about this. I'm now his trusted friend whose opinion he's trusting to guide him to not be used by people. But what about the trust between me and him? Because the MacBook, the flights, the £200, let's get back to that in part 7. Thousands of pounds by the Black Tinder Swindler Takutsu Chinguza. So I've just told you about how I've transferred him £640, £400 and £200, and how at this point essentially he has paid £10,800 that he's requested a refund for someone else, but they are paying him £12,500 in total in installments. So where's the £200 that you needed when you were stuck in the airport? This is when the crux of the scam finally started to show. And you know, the same excuses, being busy at work, manual evacuation. He would always have a manual evacuation, which, by the way, if you're not medical, it basically means scraping poop out of someone's digestive system manually with your hands. And always quoting that he wasn't feeling well because of the manual evacuation and emergency surgery and flying to South Africa to help poor children do surgeries for free, and all of the excuses in the world, but not able to transfer me my £200 and not able to give me my Mac. So at this point, I started to apply pressure. I started to really I wasn't engaging in normal conversation anymore. The conversation was simply, where's my MacBook? Where's my £200? And then in the midst of these excuses, he went, you know, I'm really, really, really sorry. I'm just so busy with work. Here is my ID. He sent me a photo of his driver's license and said, this is my address. This is my full name. I'm so sorry. I'm just super busy. Please just trust me. He said, this is my full address in the message that he sent with the ID. You don't even have to be that keen-eyed. You can see that he's covering his address with his thumb. And so he's told me his address, but I can't verify that according to the ID. And this is something we will come back to. At this stage, it's taking long. He sent me his ID. It's bought him another day or two of me calming down, but then I start to amp back up. And now I'm really getting mad. And I'm saying, after work today, I am driving to your house and I'm getting this MacBook myself. So I will meet you at your home. He sees the message, he blue ticks the message, he doesn't say a word. The moment work ended, I got in my car, drove down the M11 from London to Cambridge, and went to the address he told me he lived at. I could see the tail end of the address on the other side of his thumb. So I drove, I parked, I got out of the car, I knock on the door. A white woman answers the door, looks me up and down and says, I'm guessing Takutsu owes you a MacBook or something like that. My jaw drops. So many things are clicking at this point. I realize I'm not the only one that's knocked on this woman's door. Oh no, 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 no. This is a common occurrence for her. She's had people who look like me knock on her door for promises that Takutsu has made. And this is where the story gets insane. In fact, I can't even record it today. The police gets involved. Bomber jackets, big boys in bomber jackets get involved. Letters get involved. Court cases get involved. I'm gonna have to record this another day. Pounds. I hear it. 10-minute video. Let's try and make this happen. I'm guessing you're here for a MacBook or an Apple product. When I say my jaw dropped, and in that moment it started clicking, what was going on? And I responded, yes, how do you know? And she said, many girls who are young, black, come knocking, looking for couture, saying that they were promised some kind of Apple products. I couldn't gasp. I didn't even have it in me to gasp. And she said, you might want to try and knock 2 doors down over to your right and see if Takutsu was home. Then I realized Takutsu had covered the address with his stamp so that I wouldn't know exactly what door number he lived at, but I was very close. I walked 2 doors down. It's a pretty nice house. I knock on the door. A 90-year-old white man answers the door. And I'm like, what is this wild goose chase? This man has nothing to do with Takutsu. Does Takutsu Chinguza live here? And he said, oh, one moment. And I thought, okay, I'm getting close. Remember Takutsu said his mom was in America. His mom was always busy. She was a high-flying surgeon. She was an American. And guess who answers the door? Guess who this 90-year-old white man gets to answer the door? Takutsu's mum. This 90-year-old white man and this 50-year-old quite good-looking black woman, they're in a relationship, which I'm not really going to say what 2 and 2 I was putting together, but let's just say it was starting to look like it was running in the family. So I say to Takutsu's mum, is Takutsu here? And she starts to get so defensive, tries to shut the door in my face, saying, no, Takutsu isn't here, Takutsu isn't here. I literally put my foot in the door and I say, where is Takutsu? Because at this point, I'm on smoke. Like, I'm like, you know where Takutsu is? You're Takutsu's mum. Takutsu's not here. I haven't seen him in years. We're arguing back and forth. And at some point, I literally have to calm myself down and say, okay, what we're doing is ridiculous and unproductive. Let's actually have a conversation. At this point, she invites me into the house. This woman tells me that she hasn't seen Takutsu in years. She's estranged from her son. She doesn't know why he's doing this scam operation, and she has absolutely nothing to do with it. What can I do at this stage? If this is what she's telling me, what can I do? Even if she's lying, there's nothing I can do or say. All I realize at this point is that I'm not getting my £200 back. I'm not getting my £640 back. I'm not getting my £400 back. And at this point, it's still not really dropping that everything was a lie. It's still not really like, the penny's not really dropping. So anyway, at this point, we've discovered that Takutsu has lied about his address, that his mum is not American. She has an African accent just like he does. She's living in the UK with a 90-year-old white man with a trust fund, 6'5" blue eyes. I can't even get to my car before I message Takutsu, what the fuck? Everything was a lie. And he says, what do you mean everything was a lie? Sorry, I was just busy. And I said, I'm at your mum's house. He just typed, I'm so sorry. And at this point, I'm like, why? If you needed money, why didn't you just tell me? I would have helped you and given you money. It's still not clicked that the character is also a lie. And I said to him, at this point, I'm going to have to go to the police. And he said, go to the police then. That response, that cocky response told me everything I needed to know. This was something he was doing on a daily, and he knew that the police weren't really going to interfere in any kind of way. So then immediately after Takutsu tells me, go to the police then, he blocks me. I'm blocked out of his life. I'm realizing I'm not getting this money back. So I drive all the way home to London. Honestly, my mind is a bit frazzled and fried, but I immediately get on my laptop and start doing some investigation work because I have to work out what the F just happened. So I go home and the first thing I think is, what's the deal with this Emirates ticket? Because I saw the email from Emirates and it was a real email that was forwarded from Emirates. So I call Emirates because I noticed that on the email, Takutsu has left his frequent flyer number, the ticket number. And so I call Emirates and I say, hey, I just want to know if everything's in good order with my ticket. This is my passenger name. This is the ticket number. You know what Emirates tell me? The ticket was never paid off. How? How do you ask? Apparently, Emirates has a scheme where you can basically reserve a ticket where they give you a confirmation as though you've purchased the ticket, and then you have about 3 days to pay the ticket off. If the ticket is not paid off in 3 days, then the ticket gets dissolved. But in the interim, you do get a genuine confirmation from Emirates. And I think this is if you're part of the frequent flyer program. So the ticket that he sent me that got me to send him that £640 that I spoke about, yeah, that ticket was never paid for, ever. And I didn't know that Emirates had this scheme because I've never done like a buy now, pay later flight like process. At this point, I just need to pause and remind you that this was the same kind of ticket that he was going to give my mum to go to her dead mother's funeral, which would have left her at Heathrow or Gatwick Airport without an actual ticket to Ghana. He was willing for my mum to miss her dead mother's funeral on her way to Ghana. Like, do you understand how sick this guy is? So the next thing I do is I call my boyfriend at the time, because my boyfriend at the time was a doctor. Mind you, Takutwa and I were never in a romantic relationship. For all of you men who've jumped in my comments, I tell him, this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. And he asked me, is this guy even a real doctor? It has never occurred to me that someone who's my friend would tell me their job and that occupation is simply not their true occupation. So then he tells me, you know that you can check if someone is a registered doctor in the UK just by looking on the GMC register, and that's publicly available. This is not information I knew. Remember, I was not a med student yet. I wasn't a doctor yet. I didn't know. So then I type in his full name on the GMC register. Guess what? There's no doctor of that age and name match that comes up on the GMC register. Takutwa Chinguza is officially not a doctor. Next thing, I think to myself, well, I've graduated from Cambridge before, so I know that Cambridge publishes a public class list for everyone who's previously graduated from the university. You might ask, why didn't I check the Cambridge registration before? What friend would double check every bit of information their friend tells them about their life? So I checked the Cambridge registration, the Cambridge class list. Takutwa Chinguza never graduated from the University of Cambridge. I do some digging. I find out that Takutwa Chinguza graduated from Swansea University with a degree in computer science. Everything is starting to crumble. In a previous part, I told a story about how Takutwa introduced this character, Michelle, who he was lending £10,800 to, and she was paying him back in installments to pay off £12,500. But remember, I said that he asked PayPal for a refund, but he never showed me him talking to Michelle about getting a refund. So I'm assuming that this Michelle character is somehow a sick and twisted part of his scam. One error Takutwa made, and one place where he effed up, was sending me a screenshot of Michelle, not only of their WhatsApp conversations, but also of their Instagram conversations, where I could see her Instagram handle. So I searched her up on Instagram, found her and DM'd her. And I was basically on smoke saying, hi Michelle, these are the things I know about you. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Takutwa is a scammer. And if you block me, then you're a scammer too. So I would basically reply if I were you. So she replied saying she has no idea that Takutwa was a scammer. To her, he's always been good. He's paid off her uni fees, yada, yada, yada. So we get on the phone and we have a very long phone conversation to basically, I ask her as much as I can about Takutwa. At this point, Michelle and Takutwa are still really close and trusted friends. I uncover that Takutwa is indeed Zimbabwean. And this is something that she knows because she herself is from the south side of Africa. So he would not be able to lie to her about what part of Africa he's from because she would be able to recognize that lie. But the main thing that I discover is that Takutwa never told Michelle that he requested a refund. At this point in time, Michelle's under the full impression that Takutwa has paid for uni fees and she's therefore paying him money back to pay him back for this £10,800 that he spent on her, when he's never spent that money on her because I have the receipts of the PayPal transfer back to his account. So basically, he's scamming Michelle out of £12,500 by not telling her that he's requested a refund. And by the time that she would get the notification about the refund, she would have already graduated because her graduation has already happened at this point and she'd be in Africa. So she might not even get that notification and she would just be paying money to Takutwa. Like, this is too much. So at this stage, I think the smartest thing to do is to tell Michelle not to break up her friendship with Takutwa, not to give away the fact that she knows that this is basically a scam, okay? So I say to her, you tell Takutwa that you want to meet up with him in Cambridge in the shopping centre at a restaurant to give him money in cash. What's going to happen is I'm going to turn up. I'm going to rock up. You don't even have to be involved if you don't want to be involved. So in between the time that Michelle and I have this phone call and the day of the sting operation, I call one of my friends from my old school. And I can tell you one thing about my old school. I went to a very diverse school with a lot of intimidating guys, okay? So I call one of these intimidating guys and say, this is what's happened with me. You basically have to roll with me because Takutwa needs to be shaken in his boots when I confront him. And he says, say no more, he's coming. This is how I uncovered all of the scam in Takutwa Chinguza, the Black Tinder Swindler's big operation. So the day of the operation happens. I finish work, he finishes work, we jump in my car, we drive to Cambridge. The only flaw in our plan is that we're working on Black people time. And we are running late for the time that we've told Michelle to set Takutwa up at the restaurant. She's actually meeting him at the restaurant first so that he doesn't feel like anything suspicious is going on. And then we are basically going to roll in seconds later. But she's telling me that she's getting nervous. She's telling me that she's scared. She's telling me she thinks this guy is now a bad guy. and she doesn't want to do it. And we're like, hold on, we're on the M11, just hold on, we're coming. We're so ready to run up on Takutswa. We get to Cambridge. Michelle has told us that she's gone straight to the police station, and Takutswa has grown suspicious because no one was turning up and left the restaurant, so he's no longer there. So we have now driven to Cambridge, all the way to Cambridge for nothing. Mind you, Michelle is moving to Africa tomorrow because she's had her graduation and she doesn't live in this country. So this was my last link to Takutswa. So at this point, there's nothing else for us to do. All we can do is drive to the police station, meet Michelle there, and talk it out at that point. We tell the police everything that's happened. The police are doing nothing about it. The police in the UK do nothing about fraud, which is why so many fraudsters can just get away with what they're doing, which is why Takutswa responded, go to the police, because he's probably had several people report him to the police and he knows that nothing is going to happen to him. The police literally laugh in our face and say, this sounds like a romance scam, ha 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 ha. I'm thinking there's zero romance about it. Can't you see that this scam is so much bigger than the two people standing in front of you? We're stuck in the police station for hours, because it's taking so long, even though they're doing nothing about it. After this, we're exhausted, we're tired. We all decide, so Michelle's boyfriend, myself, and my friend from school all decide that we're going to go to a restaurant and really get into the meat of everything that happened, because Michelle and I were interviewed separately at the police station. And at this point, I'm still uncovering more information. First of all, I uncover that Takutswa had a whole different character and persona when it came to Michelle, was more molded towards Michelle's character and what she might like. His character was a lot more exaggerated. In Michelle's world, Takutswa was like a billionaire, as in he has a billion British pounds. Like, this is way exaggerated. He wasn't this philanthropist or anything like that. He was just a cocky billionaire guy, which was not the persona he had with me. He's really kind, down to earth, shy, blah, blah, blah. But like I say, he builds different characters. And at this point, I'm telling her the part of the story where Takutswa offered me that internship. And I got that voicemail on my phone from the lady. And she confirms to me that she's seen ID from him that has Dr. Takutswa Chinguza. I told her that I found records of him attending Swansea University. I play the voicemail to her that I got from ANDRIEUX Hospital. Do you know what Michelle tells me? She says, that's Takutswa's girlfriend. That's Takutswa's girlfriend's voice. Takutswa's girlfriend? This is the first time I'm hearing of Takutswa having a girlfriend in the first place, let alone the fact that it was her that sent me that voicemail from ANDRIEUX Hospital. There is no ANDRIEUX. There is no hospital. This is a massive operation run by Takutswa and his girlfriend. And this is the first time I'm clocking that Takutswa is not doing this solo. It's a team effort. And Michelle tells me at this stage that actually when they meet up and when Takutswa comes for dinner over at her and her boyfriend's house, Takutswa is the quiet one and his girlfriend is the one that actually does a lot of the talking. The girlfriend is the one who's the brains behind this operation. Takutswa is the image and the face and the puppet that runs the show. His girlfriend is the brains behind the operation. Dinner is now done. It's gotten quite late, but me and my friend from school are not satisfied with the outcome. It's time to take matters into our own hands. Like I said, I went to a school of very diverse characters. And so my friend from school calls another friend from school and basically says, yo, I need someone's address. I'm not going to go into any further details, but he said he needed an address, and 5 minutes later, an address was dropped to his WhatsApp. So we now have an address for Takutswa Chinguza that was obtained in however it was obtained. And we decide, say no more. We're driving the hour and we're going to Takutswa's new address. I park up. At this point, my friend from school puts his bomber jacket on, puts his hoodie on, starts covering his face. Low-key. I'm thinking, no. This is not how this is going to go down. And he said, calm down. Like, I'm from this life. Like, I know how this stuff goes. And I'm like, please, dear Father Lord, I just want him to stand there as a male character so Takutswa doesn't feel like it's yet another girl that he has to confront, because I don't think he's dealt with men. I don't want this to become physical in any kind of way. We knock on the door. We see a light going on. We're thinking someone is home. Someone's coming down the stairs. We hear boom, 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 boom coming down the stairs. We're thinking, yes, my friend is getting ready. They open the door. My friend literally barges the door and says, where the fuck is Takutswa? Oh my, I will never forget this moment. What do I hear? I hear a white lady scream, oh my God, oh my God. Mind you, the optics of this are not great. It is like 12 at midnight. You've got, all she can see is a dark figure in a bomber jacket, like not bellied up, but like covered up, barging in our house. And I'm thinking, my goodness, this is every woman's nightmare. And I'm like, I'm gonna call him a fake name. And I'm like, Benjamin, like, calm down. And she hears a female voice and she's like hyperventilating. She's shaking at the door. And my friend Benjamin apologizes profusely, saying, I'm so sorry, we're just looking for Takutwa. And she's like, Takutwa doesn't live here anymore. She calms down and she invites us in the house. Why she invites us in the house after what happened, I have no idea. And she begins to explain that Takutwa Chinkuzo hasn't been living there for a really long time. And she shows us this stack of letters that have come through the door that obviously haven't been opened because Takutwa doesn't live there. She explains that the reason he got kicked out of this property is because the landlord discovered that he was renting this property illegally to 10 immigrants, like stuffing 10 immigrants into a 1-bedroom house. Like, this is a sick person. But also this scam is clearly more than just this scamming, petty scamming girls, as in this whole guy's life seems to be revolving around doing scam after scam. Remember that fact stack of letters that the lady showed us? My friend from school doesn't give a heck. He just takes a fat stack, he starts ripping open the letters one by one. Court case, overdue payment. And then he opens a letter that is, I don't know if it's a P90, a P50, a P45. Anyway, it's a P something from Tesco addressed to Takutwa, 1, and his girlfriend, 2. They were both working at Tesco at some point, and I guess they turned their life around by starting to scam the heck out of people. Like, it's looking crazy, but it's very evident at this stage that this whole guy's life is just one massive scam. After having tea with this lady, after discussing with this lady and finding out there's more information, we drive home. So we get home, but I was not done with Takutwa, okay? I wasn't done with Takutwa. So the next morning, I call Michelle, I explain everything that has happened so far. And I said to her, you need to make sure you're not paying this 12,500 to Takutwa. And she starts to panic and say, oh, well, but he's paid my uni fees and my university have said that the fees have been paid, yada, yada, yada. And I said, I showed you the refund. He's requested a refund. He's scamming you out of money. If the refund has still not been processed, you need to call up your university and make sure that that refund never gets processed, first of all. And then second of all, you're not going to pay him back because he tried to scam you. So she calls up her university, and then the university explains that apparently once tuition fees have been processed and paid, they can't be refunded unless they approve the refund via PayPal. And so the refund won't be processed anyway. This is not a notification that Takutwa has received yet, clearly, because he's under the impression that he's getting a refund of £10,800 plus the £12,500 from Michelle. And at this stage, she's scared to tell Takutwa that she's not going to be paying the money back. So I'm like, babe, I would love to tell him on behalf of you. I got my colleague's phone from school because my number was blocked and he doesn't answer private calls. And I basically got on the phone and I pretended to be Michelle's friend. I pretended to be Michelle's friend who was going to be making the payments on behalf of Michelle while she had left the country. And I was like, oh, Michelle's not really making the payments. I'm going to have to pay some of it for her. She's such a bad friend. You did such a good thing. And he was like insulting her, saying, yeah, she's using me. She needs to give me my money ASAP, blah, 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 blah. At some point, I just switch out of this nice tone. And I'm like, hold on, did I even explain who this was? And he was like, no, not really. I don't know your name. And I said, this is Shirley Becker, bitch. You're not getting your money back. You're not getting your money back. And in the middle of me screaming down the phone, he basically hangs up. But I'm very satisfied at this point. I told Michelle to block his ass. Her university fees are paid and enjoy her jolly good life. Takutwa was now £10,800 down, so I'm hugely satisfied. But remember, in all of the intros, I kept talking about how myself and several other black girls got scammed. Well, Takutwa is now £10,800 down. Remember, in all of the intros, I kept talking about how myself and several other black girls got scammed. Well, at some point, many years later, I actually told this story on Clubhouse. And once I told this story on Clubhouse, and there was a little bit of backlash towards Takutwa on Twitter, it meant that every time someone got a bit suspicious about Takutwa Chinkuzo, because he was in the middle of scamming them, they would Google his name and what would come up? My Twitter handle. So I used to get so many DMs from girls saying, oh my goodness, I live in Cambridge, I live in Peterborough, I live in Ipswich, I've been scammed, I live in South Africa, I've been scammed, I can't even go back and screenshot all of the DMs because there are just so many of them. Since starting to upload this playlist series, whatever you want to call it, the amount of people that have DM'd me on TikTok to say that they've been scammed, they were about to be scammed. He's even leaked someone's nudes because he couldn't get money out of them. Like, you need to understand that this scam is so much bigger than myself and than Michelle. Until this day, Qapital Chunguza is still operating. And so what I want more than anything, apart from the fact that I've switched on my creator program, monetization for the first time, and I hope that all of these parts give me some kind of compensation, I actually hope that this story blows up purely so that Qapital Chunguza can't operate, because everyone will know that he's a scammer. Everyone will know his face and know what he looks like, and everyone will know that he's a scammer so that he can't scam anymore. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how Qapital Chunguza, the Black Tinder Swindler, was able to scam me and several other black girls out of tens of thousands of pounds. I'm so glad to be done with this. Goodbye.
The Tinder Swindler.
Some of you hoes is lying. Y'all saying you wouldn't be swindled by the Tinder Swindler. I've been swindled out of coochie in exchange for a 2 for $20 down at the Applebee's. Ladies, what have we learned? When a man comes to you with his brokey shenanigans, you gotta look at him in his eyes and hit him with the damn. That's crazy. So what you gonna do about it?
If I dated the Tinder Swindler.
Huh? You need some money? And you thought of me? I got a cousin that can get you one of them PPP loans. In my name? No, I already got one. Can't get one in my name. Damn, babe, I ain't got it. So what you gonna do? I don't know, maybe you could sell one of them watches you got on Facebook Marketplace. Now I got another cousin that might be able to get you a little piece, you know what I'm saying? Keep them ops off of you. What do you mean do it got bodies? Ain't you about to put a body on it? With my credit score? You joking, right? Your enemies is there. Run, nigga, run!
Hey y'all, welcome back to All Things Jenny. I'm Jenny. The way I was clutching my invisible pearls while listening to the story, first of all, this man, okay, I have to give it to him. He's a pretty smart guy. And the fact that he was able to outsmart multiple very intelligent women is crazy. This man told the lady that he could get her a MacBook Pro or a MacBook laptop out of his association with the college, and she believed him. And you know why she believed him? Because she said that her teacher one time was able to get a MacBook Pro from his school. So she basically forced herself to believe this lie that this man was telling her because of something that she also experienced in life. So, you know, this is crazy. This is crazy. And the fact that this man was smart enough and aware enough to cover his address and his driver's license when sending the photo to her. Meanwhile, she trusts him blindly, trusts this man to send him money for a laptop that she doesn't even know that he actually had. I don't think she even mentioned that he sent a picture of the laptop or anything. I don't remember hearing that. But if that's the case, my apologies, but I don't remember hearing that. And she believed him. She sent the money. And only for her to find out that this man been doing this to so many other girls. And you know what? You know why she probably believed him too? Because he was posting pictures of him on a private jet and, you know, different pictures, different angles. Let me tell you, I think social media, and plus me with my selfish, not trust issues. I don't have really trust issues, but I question things, okay? The way that I've been seeing how people can fake an entire life on social media, the first thing I thought about when I saw his pictures were how you can literally rent a private jet not even a private jet. It's not even a private jet. It's just like a stationary fake private jet that you can pay for like an hour or 45 minutes. And all of your friends, if you decide all your friends want to fake their life on social media, want to put money together and rent a private jet, a fake private jet that's stationary for about an hour and take multiple pictures and pretend as if you are on a private jet. That's the first thing I thought about. But then again, it's probably because I already knew what the story was going to be about, like him faking his life. So yeah, that would be the first thing I think about. The way when I'm talking to men, we're trying to get into a relationship and they start telling me their problem like the first 3 dates, like, oh, you know, my car and this, and they just look at them like, oh, word, I'm sorry. So what you gonna do to fix that problem? Like, I would not trust this man to send him money. He was smart. He was smart. Imagine all this degree. You got all this degree now, and this man was able to outsmart you out of all this money. Anyways, my heart does go out to these girls because they did lose a lot of money. They did lose a lot of money. It is a funny story, I have to say, but they did lose a lot of money, and my heart goes out to them. But you have to be careful out here on the internet, especially when you're meeting people online. You never know who you're meeting. People can present their representative for as long as they need to. So you have to be very careful, you know, because people are out here just scamming people. You got to be very, very, very careful, guys. Anyways, that was a very interesting story. I have to say, it was very interesting. I was very entertained. Go ahead and tell me your comment section in the comment below. Tell me if you would get tricked by this man, or if you are way too smart for that, or you know, if he came to you, you might have gotten tricked, because he was actually pretty smart, and I think he's been doing this for a really, really long time. So he knew exactly what to say and what to do, so people will fall for his tricks. Anyways, guys, it's very unfortunate for them. I hope they're able to get justice out of that, but honestly, how many people have been tricked by people in Nigeria, Nigerian kings, you know, stuff like that. So hey, it happens every day. Anyways, guys,